Welcome back to another episode of Around the Plains. On this week's episode of Around the Plains, I'm joined by Eagle Eye's very own Strictly Auburn. Making up Strictly Auburn is these three: Eli Lingo, Connor King, and Jake Lazarus. They create and run a game day football show that gives insight into the upcoming game, and they give their picks for games across the country. So you guys should check it out on our YouTube channel. For those who don't know the rules of Around the Plains, I'll ask them each a question to get their own opinion on something in Auburn sports. If I think they made a good point, then they get a point added to them, and if I think they made a bad point, then I can deduct points. We'll go through 4 questions, and the 2 people with the most points through the 4 questions go into the showdown round for a one final sudden death, I guess, final round. So we'll get straight into the first question and get this one out of the way first because it's the one probably most obvious to ask. With all the recent changes in leadership of the football team, who do you want Auburn to hire as the next head football coach? We'll start with Eli.
All right, so my answer to this one, me and Jake recently did a show about this, but my guy is Lane Kiffin, and the reason why is because he's tested and tried in the SEC as a head football coach, and he knows how to recruit in the SEC as a head football coach. So those 2 reasons why I think is what Auburn needs is better recruiting, and we need somebody that knows how to do it in the SEC, so I'm about to go in Lane Kiffin for mine.
All right, Connor?
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Eli here. I don't know if Lane Kiffin will actually come to Auburn, but it's great to think about. He's very offensive-minded, which is necessary. Last night versus Mississippi State, we saw some flashes of a good offense, but, with Lane Kiffin on the sideline, I think a lot of things can be achieved, getting back to scoring, 42, 49 points a game. That'd be great. I think he can coach up our quarterbacks as well. I think he can make Ashford a better quarterback and maybe even Calzada as well. And, I just like that Kiffin is willing to take risks and just, he likes to coach openly, and he's very open-minded with everything he does. So I like that a lot.
All right, Jake, finish this out.
So, Connor, you mentioned taking risks. I think Auburn taking a massive leap and going after Deion Primetime Sanders. And let me tell you why. So it starts with his NFL track record. Deion Primetime, an 8-time Pro Bowler, a 6-time All-Pro, 2-time Super Bowl champ, and a Hall of Famer. So starting with there, he's earned the credibility himself, doing it at the highest levels, playing as one of the greatest cornerbacks of all time, as well as playing wide receiver and returning kicks as a kick specialist. And yeah, he was one of the best cornerbacks of all time, 512 total tackles, 53 picks, and 9 returned for touchdowns. So he's a real athlete, as well as he played wide receiver, 60 receptions, 784 yards, 3 touchdowns. And his head coaching record, kind of unbeatable. He's 23-5 in 3 years at Jackson State. He's proved that he can recruit against SEC caliber coaching. He flipped Travis Hunter from Florida State just last year. He's out-recruited Nick Saban in that regard, Kirby Smart, Lane Kiffin, as you guys mentioned. And then prior to his hiring in 2020, the last winning season by Jackson State was back in 2013. So he's proven that he can come into a situation and a program that isn't necessarily a built-up program and rebuild it to one that's a winning program, as well as 2021 being the team's first SWAC title since 2007.
All right, we're going to switch to men's basketball real quick. The season starts on Monday against George Mason, and a lot of new faces have joined the team in the offseason. Who are you most excited to watch play this season? We'll start with Jake.
So personally, I got to take Johan Traore. I got to take the French guy first, 6'10", 225, so he's a large guy. Janiah Broom and him are going to run our backcourt most likely the front court for most of the year. I think he was the top-ranked player in the state of Arizona in his recruiting class, so obviously goes to show that he's capable of being a powerhouse at the D1 SEC level. Bruce also called Johan humble and hungry, adding that he is disciplined, a hard worker, and wants to be coached. So that's one guy who I really, really want to see coached by Bruce Pearl, because I think the 2 of them could honestly make a powerhouse combo.
All right, Connor?
I'm so excited to see Johan play.
Yeah.
He should be really fun. I think who's going to join him in the front court this year is my pick, Janiah Broom. Janiah Broom's a transfer from Morehead State. He was a third in the country for blocks per game, which is amazing, knowing that one of our guys was first? Second? Yeah. He was up there in the blocks as well. So I think that he's really going to protect the rim this year, which is important, get a lot of boards for us as well, and score some points too. He wasn't the most offensive-minded player at Morehead State, although he's a super athletic big. He's great in transition. You know, he's not a slow big, so he's going to be able to get up and down the court. I see him getting a lot of minutes throughout the season, probably the most minutes on the team, to be honest. I know he'll split a little bit of time with Dylan Cardwell as well, although I see him being the center of our offense for the most part. And like I said on our Strictly Auburn basketball show for our preview, I mentioned that he's going to be getting a lot of time on the high post, on the short corners, really just everywhere inside of the paint, getting the ball and setting plays up for our offense.
All right, Eli?
Yeah, I mean, the way this basketball team works, there's countless of players that we can pick from that are all really talented players. But my guy that I'm really excited to look out for is a true freshman, Chance Westry, 6'6" kid. So he's out of Arizona as well, 4-star prospect. He averaged 13 points, almost 14 points in high school. But watching him play in Israel, he really played like a veteran. You know, he didn't make many mental mistakes. He played really composed, and he makes really hard shots look really easy. And that 6'6" frame works really well for him. He's kind of built like Jabari in a sense of where he's long and lengthy and can make really short range shots and long range shots. So he would be a really good addition to this team and adds a lot of fluidity in the offense. So I'm really looking for him.
All right, going back to football, who do you guys think is the best position group on the team? We'll start with Connor.
My favorite this year is the running backs. I think the duo between Tank Bigsby and Jarquez Hunter, it's been great this year. Although we haven't had a good O-line, so it's been a little lacking offensively. But these guys fight for every single yard, and the way they work off of each other, you know, every other play, or sometimes, you know, they'll be on the field for a full drive. It's really nice to see how they are, and sometimes they're even on the field together. Not a lot, but in some packages. I think these two guys, behind a great offensive line, really almost any other offensive line in the SEC, they'd be putting up more numbers. Between the two, they have a total of 987 yards, which, you know, based on our offense this season, is a pretty big chunk of it. We also have Damari Alston. He hasn't seen the field too much, but he's one of my favorite guys for in the future, and he's super talented. I actually had a class with him and spoke with him a little bit earlier this year, and you know, he's a great guy, has some high hopes for the program, and I think all three of these guys are athletes, and they've been doing a lot for our team this season.
All right, Jake, what do you think?
So my personal pick for the position group of this season, I mean, is kind of a running back. I got to take the interim coaching staff in Cadillac Williams. I don't know if we've all been watching the same Auburn team, but I don't see any position group on this football team that really stands out to me. In fact, I think almost all across the board we've seen position groups underperforming, whether it's our quarterback play, DBs, linebackers, D linemen, O linemen, running backs up until the last 2 weeks. I mean, you name it, they've all underperformed. But this interim coaching staff came in this past week on a short week on Monday, and I wouldn't even count Monday as part of the prep week. So you have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You have 4 days to prep for a Mississippi State game away in Mississippi State to prep for a pretty pivotal matchup for this program. Coming out this week, this team looked inspired. They played harder for a head coach that I've seen since I've been here. I've been here for Gus Malzahn and Brian Harsin. I don't think this team played hard for either of those guys. And we know this team isn't the most talented team. Mississippi State probably outdoes them on paper just by the flat-out roster. Well, yesterday, this team probably showed when they play with heart, they can beat just about anyone. And they'll go toe-to-toe with just about anyone. So for the rest of this season, I think we should watch Cadillac Williams, Zach Etheridge, Will Friend, and Ike Hilliard, the co-OCs. Just keep an eye out for them. I think they're going to be the most successful group this season.
All right, Eli?
Yeah, I mean, I think with my answer, you have to talk about the interim coaching staff. So I'm going to take the running back group. I think if you watched last night's game, it was the first kind of situation where you could see the running backs really take hold, obviously with Cadillac, being able to really open this playbook up and let the running back shine for once. I mean, this is one of the first times I've seen where the offense actually ran for over, it was like 200 yards this game against Mississippi State, which was a beautiful sight to see. Jarquez had a lot of carries. Tank had a lot of carries. And I think the play calling was really well, too. So it really allowed this running back group to shine the way we know they can shine. And I think this running back group is one of the best groups in the country when given the opportunity. So,
absolutely.
All right, going into the fourth question, Jake Lazarus holds a 1-point lead over both Connor King and Eli Lingo. But continue our flip-flop to and from Auburn basketball. Where do you see this basketball team finishing? Regular season SEC champs last year, going to the SEC tournament. How far in that? How far in the NCAA tournament, if you think there? Let's start with Jake.
So you said if they get there, they will be an NCAA tournament team. I don't think we have any doubts there. In terms of regular season, I think Auburn finishes as a top 3 seed in the SEC tournament, going into the tournament, in Nashville. So I think they get one of the double byes. I think Tennessee and Kentucky, especially with Shibwe going back to Kentucky for another year after winning Player of the Year, I think they're going to be almost an unstoppable team in the SEC. And Tennessee returning a lot of guys in their marksman team. So I have them as a top 3 seed going into the tournament. I have Auburn getting bounced in the quarterfinals of the SEC tournament, just how I think the season unfolds for this Auburn Tiger offense and Bruce Pearl. And then the NCAA tournament, I have them going just one round further, getting bounced in the Sweet 16 after falling last year to Miami in the round of 32.
All right, Eli?
Yeah, I mean, I think my prediction for this team is pretty similar to yours, Jake. I think we'll be a 3 seed in the tournament, but I think we make it all the way to the final game, and I think we get bounced by Kentucky, lose that one. But talking about March Madness, I think this team, if we hit our stride right and don't peak way too early like we did last year, I think we can make a Final Four run. I know that's a pretty high standard, but I think the way this basketball team is and the way it's coached now, I think that's a standard that we can meet, especially this year. We have a lot of guys coming back, a lot of new faces that we talked about earlier that we know can make an impact, a lot of young freshmen that are healthy, ready to play some basketball, but I think this team can go a long way, and I think we do go to the Final Four.
All right, finish this out, Connor.
I see pretty eye to eye with you guys as well. I see us going to be the 2nd seed in the SEC regular season. I think Kentucky will have the edge over us. Hopefully we beat them head-to-head, but I have a feeling that we might drop a few SEC games on the way. I think we'll be better than Tennessee this year. And then the SEC tournament, I do have us winning the tournament, actually.
Okay.
Hopefully we learn from last season, from losing pretty early in the tournament, and peak at the right time, start winning games at the right time towards the end of the season. And that will win the SEC tournament. And then I think we go all the way to the Elite Eight this year. I think, after losing in the round of 32, the returning players are really sour. We got some hungry new guys. Like I said earlier, Janai Broom. I know he left Morehead State last year, and, he's at a major program now. He wants to make a big impact. We have a lot of good recruits that are going to be freshmen this year that are ready to play. Great recruiting class, by the way.
Yep.
There's props to Bruce Pearl and his staff for that. And I think we go all the way to the Elite Eight. I'd love to say we're national champions, but there's a lot of teams that are returning a lot of great guys this year around the country, and I don't know if we're going to hold up when it comes down to the best of the best.
I also just wanted to add, I said this on our show, but I just wanted to add it here. I think that Auburn has one of the lowest floors in the SEC, but also one of the highest ceilings. So the volatility of this team is all going to come down to these young guys and how big of a role they can all play. All the guys that we mentioned, Janiyah Broom, Johan Traore, Chance Westry, I mean, obviously the return of KD Johnson, like all these guys that are going to play massive roles. They have to show that they can compete against the likes of Tennessee, Kentucky, and every other SEC, against Alabama, everyone. So yeah, I do expect this team to outperform a lot of expectations, but I do want to preface that by saying, can't always expect the highest of highs.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you mentioned the young guys, I think that's a really good point, but I think a lot of people want to see is Alan Flanagan, guys like him and Jalen Williams to make an impact. I mean, they were kind of role players last year. Alan Flanagan in 2020 was, amazing. He led the team in points and stuff like that. So, and I mean, if you watch the Expedition game, you saw Alan Flanagan kind of take that role like he did in 2020. And same thing with Jalen Williams. I mean, he sneakily led the team in points. I mean, if those two guys keep doing what they're doing and keep performing like really good, I think this team can go really far if Alan Flanagan and Jalen Williams keep performing the way they do. So hopefully we can see that.
All right, we actually have a tie going into the final round. I believe Eli is 1 point ahead, and Jake and Connor are tied, one behind. So we'll keep all 3 of them in for the final round.
All right, let's go.
For the showdown question, who do you think will be the highest drafted player for Auburn on this football team? So they can't transfer out and get drafted from another team, and they can be in any draft. Doesn't have to be just a 2023. It could be 2024, 25, 26 even. Who do you guys think? We'll start with Connor.
Y'all might not like this one, but I'm picking Jarquez Hunter in the 2024 draft.
Hey, I think that's a good choice.
The reason I say this is because Jarquez is one of the hardest workers on the team, if not the hardest worker. I see him improve every week, and if he gets behind a good O-line, he could shine. Obviously, Tank Bigsby's over him in the depth chart right now. I think next year when Jarquez is the starter, you'll have a lot more snaps, a lot more yards, and hopefully our offensive line improves so he can really show his full potential. I think that he's going to get better. He's going to get stronger over the next year, maybe 2 years. He's a sophomore right now, so he has a lot of time to improve. And I think at the end of the day, Jarquez will end up just having his draft stock go higher and higher. Right now, he's projected to be in the 4th round, which that doesn't sound like he's not a first rounder or second rounder, but I think he'll move up and just improve as this Auburn team improves as well.
All right, Eli, what do you think?
All right, this is going to be a really, really long shot, but I think it could happen. My guy is going to be Robbie Ashford, and the reason why is because I think he has so much time, and I mean, if you're looking at this season, you can see him improve week in and week out, and you can see him actually make changes to his game, and he's a really good learner as well. So I think if you put the right coach behind him, and you put the right offensive mind behind him, he could really boom. And like I said, he has a lot of time on his belt, a lot of eligibility left. So he could be at Auburn for another 2 to 3 years, and then once he hits that draft, be a really polished quarterback, really mature quarterback, and have his arm ready. We already know he has his legs, the athletic ability, but if he just gets his mind right, gets his arm ready, he could really, really boom. Maybe first round, maybe second round, but I got Robbie Ashford.
All right, Jake, what do you think?
I like a lot of the points you made. I just think for Robbie Ashford is the maturity level.
Yeah.
He's a redshirt freshman.
Mm-hmm.
Just the maturity he's shown this year is
He's a hothead, yeah.
pretty bad.
Yeah.
He's gotten in the face of our best player, Tank Bigsby. He's gotten into feuds with the coaches.
I think that shows his competitive ability, though. He loves to compete.
No, you can't get into it with your head coach. You watch any football team, you can't get into it with your head coach. You can't get into it with your best player.
He's competitive. He's an athlete. He wants to win.
Well, we're talking draft stock. There's no NFL GM. There's no head coach that likes to see that, ever. I think you can go back and watch the broadcast. I'm pretty sure that is a point they made on the broadcast live.
Okay.
RG3 made that point when that was happening. No one wants to see a hothead, especially on the sidelines of your NFL sideline. It's not a good look for your football team or anything. So my guy is one of the most mature football players on this football team, one of the biggest football players on this team. I got to take Derek Hall. I think truly I have him as a second-round graded player for me, although I do think he goes at the tail end of the first round in this year's draft. I could see a team that needs a quick, large outside linebacker. I think he gets drafted a little bit out of position as he's played an edge rusher at Auburn. I think he plays an outside linebacker in the NFL. I also think Derek Hall is a guy who is built for the combine. He is, I don't know if you guys have seen him on campus. He is huge.
He's a big guy.
Big frame.
He's going to kill the bench press. He's really, really quick. He can make plays. He will run a good 40 time. He'll run a good 3-cone drill. So he's a guy who is built for the combine. He's also done really well in his press conferences at Auburn through all of the turmoil that our coaching staff went through and the university went through during the offseason. That was one thing that really stood out to me as him as a captain, going to SEC media days and doing press conferences this past week through all of the turmoil, all that stuff. So I think he's going to do really, really well talking to coaches and GMs and front offices. So I think he's going to make a really good impression and go at the tail end of the first round.
I got a question for you, Jake.
Shoot.
Do you think this season, you think he's given enough ability and film to get him that high in the draft?
Yes, I think he's going to have a crazy good combine. And a lot of the time, it's short-term or recency bias.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if he can put a good close to the end of this season, which he's definitely done, he started off really, really cold. I don't think he had a sack through the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, I remember we were picking him we were deciding between him or Equiliota to lead sacks.
And he went 4 weeks without a sack, and then got a couple, got the interception. First interception of his career. He's got 5 forced fumbles. I think he's got a pair this year. So I think recency bias is going to play a factor. If he puts a really, really hard case at the end of this year, especially with a big game to close the year against Alabama, that'll be on the national spotlight with a lot of eyeballs on that. Because Alabama's got a lot of NFL talent on their side as well.
It could either go really well or really bad. He could put a really good name for his case, or he could underperform and then
True,
kind
but,
of kill his draft
but
stock.
again, I still
No,
say
I hope
the,
he
the
does.
combine.
No,
the
right,
combine.
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
take the combine over anything because he's
Okay.
going to show out there. There's
Yeah,
no
he
doubt.
definitely will. He definitely will. Good choice.
All right, so that'll do it for Around the Plains this week. The winner is Eli Lingo.
Okay, I did not expect to win that one.
Yeah, it came down really close. Eli, you finished with 7 points in the showdown. Jake with 6, and Connor, you had 4. So pretty respectable all around.
No, yeah.
This is the first time we've had 3 people in the final showdown, so
Okay.
good job on that.
Props to Strictly Auburn.
Yeah, come on.
But I'll have you guys step out, and Eli, give us a little FaceTime. You get a couple seconds to talk about whatever you want, plug whatever you want.
Appreciate you, Zach, for having me on. I know we had you on 2 weeks ago, but just want to shout out Strictly Auburn, and I think Eagle Eye as a whole. This news association is a really good way to get prepared and have a good time with friends and meet really good people and just do what you want to do and do what you love. So I think if you have the time and you want to do something fun, and you have a lot of good ideas, reach out to Zach, reach out to me, Jake, or Connor. We're always looking for new people to join Eagle Eye, new people to join Strictly Auburn Around the Plains. Super welcoming people. We always enjoy a good time, enjoy good people. So if you ever want to reach out and have a good time, share your ideas, I don't know, just cover some football games, basketball games, write some articles, come check out Eagle Eye. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
All right, well, thanks for the organization plug.
Yeah.
We could always use one of those, but thank you guys for watching Around the Plains, and we'll see you guys next week.